Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups, relationship problems, issues, situationships, and everything else. Let's get into what's it like to experience complete no contact. It's been a while. I haven't done a live stream for a little bit. We've talked about this many times on the channel, but let's get into it one more time for all those no contactors out there. And just understand, if you've never done this before, it's probably going to be one of the harder things you've done in your life. Uh, being away from someone that you cared about, loved, spent a lot of time with, and then never talking to them again, or feeling like you never will, is very difficult. Okay. And one of the reasons I started doing coaching and helping people out with their relationships is I know what it feels like. I know what it's like when I've been in the situation on both ends of a breakup. And also just the first time you ever kind of experience no contact. Number one, both sides of it suck. Okay. Like, a lot of times people think, oh, this person's living their best life. Oh, they're so happy right now. I can't believe they're just moving on. And social media is a big part of this because you get these snippets, these pictures of competitive happiness. And depending on the type of person that you broke up with, sometimes they're feeding that to you. They want you to believe that they're doing so great, so wonderful. But on the flip side, whoever broke up with the other person, if there was love there, dare I say, them having to go into complete no contact, even though they broke up with you, is extremely difficult also, because however you dice it, if you're with someone for over 2 years, like if it's 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, it's hard, but it's not as hard if it's over 2, 3, 4 years. The reason being is that you're deeply connected with that person and you share your good and bad moments with them. Now, when you get into no contact, you suddenly are playing a guessing game. I think they're thinking this. I think they're this. In reality, you know them better than you're giving yourself credit for. You're overthinking it. And really, if you ask yourself succinct questions, like what their reasons were, what's going on, you know, but you don't like the answer. Now, on the flip side of that, if you're dealing with someone that's an ex that's just a pure liar, which they're out there, right? It's not like they have like white lies or harmless lies. They just lie. They're just a liar. Maybe that's why you broke up. Well, then while you're in no contact, it might be more difficult to understand why. Number two, it's an open loop. So just remember, with no contact, this is completely open. So the story in your mind doesn't end, because we like stories to end happily or with some kind of completion that we're okay with. Now, even a scary movie or something like that, it ends in a certain way that you understand everything. In a lot of cases, you understand when you broke up, but a lot of times, I would say 50 to 60% of the times when you break up, you deep down don't believe it's going to last. Like, you're going to get back together. Maybe we're going to work. And this is why when you're in a breakup and you're having that last conversation, the other person's like, oh, well, we can talk again, or maybe we can go out for dinner, or maybe we can stay friends, right? Because the reality is, it's like, it can't end this way. It almost feels that way. It's like, it didn't end. This isn't the end of this movie. The chapter didn't end correct. Because a lot of times breakups, they're dirty, they're sloppy, they're messed up. And so your subconscious doesn't want to accept it in that way. So your first few weeks of no contact, a lot of times, are trying to rework that ending. Oh, I should have done this. I could have said this. Oh, 6 months ago when I was supposed to pick up the dry cleaning, I could have done this. So you're going all through these things trying to change the ending, right? And an open loop just means that your mind's not satisfied with the ending of that story. It feels like, oh, this isn't the end of the game, right? And that's a real thing. And that's something I help people with when we do a breakup coaching session, or even just a session about your problems. For some reason, you're not accepting the reality of what happened, but at the same time, you're trying to alter this thing from an ending to a, what can I do next to keep the story going? It's one of those things, everyone does it. And so when you're in no contact, you have all this time to do that. when you get to the point where you close the loop and go, hey, I'm never going back to this person. Hey, I have my reasons. Hey, our problems weren't solvable. That's the biggest thing. And I get to that in a moment. Your problems, they're not going to get fixed. They drink too much. They keep the room dirty. They're always low on money. They have no car. I don't know. They flirt on their DMs. These things have been going on for months and years sometimes. And so when someone gets to the point where they get bold enough, brave enough to break up, the other person's like, oh, I've been doing this for a while. All of a sudden now you want to break up over it. This creates another open loop because they don't get it. When in reality, you're like, oh, it's just never been fixed. Number 3, you put together all good moments and best parts, especially when you are lonely. So when you're in no contact, your mind's looking for all these parts, the intimate moments when you're lonely. So my next point, it's like fasting and dreaming about good food. If anyone's ever gone on a fast or a cleanse or something where you were, let's say you went on a hike or you went somewhere and you were out of water. That fucking water tastes so good when you're in the desert, right? When you're thirsty. If you went on one of these diets or, like I said, a 10-day fast or a 5-day fast, you're dreaming about how good food is. So when you're in no contact, it's very similar in the sense that you're lonely and you're thinking to yourself, God, it would be so good to be with them. And all your mind can think about is all those great moments. It's straining out all the bad moments that led you to the breakup. Number 5, if you follow on social media, it's 10 times worse. So if someone was going to give me the biggest problem, it's definitely following someone on social media post-breakup. And there's a lot to it. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to close the door. Oh, I don't want to make them think that I'm butthurt. There's all kinds of things. If you're in no contact, the problems couldn't get fixed. Your only option is to completely cut off contact, because seeing them on social media is just going to open more loops and create more problems in your mind. Guaranteed. If you want to elongate the feeling of missing someone or mixed signals post breakup, then keep following them. Okay. And sometimes they're not even doing it on purpose. Your feelings are stronger than theirs. You are more hurt. You're in a worse place. You should not be following them on social media, because what happens is your brain tells you, this is my girlfriend. This has been my girlfriend for 3 years. Your brain can't just immediately go in, oh, we're in a breakup, I'll never talk to them again. So when you see pictures of them on social media, when they're having a good time or they're dressed in a bikini or whatever, you're acting out how you would act if you were together. But then your mind stops and goes, no, you can't do that. Now you have a problem. You have a conflict. You feel disrespected. You feel like they don't care about your feelings. Oh, you're going to go out of your way to hurt my feelings? So it's best you just don't follow each other anymore. And that will, if you can do that for 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, the brain stops working on that. Number 6, you question things about yourself. So when you're no contact, you're like, am I even good looking? Am I that bad a person? All your insecurities kind of float up when you're thinking, why did we break up? That's okay, because actually here's the cool thing, and you probably don't think it's cool. You can work on those things. You can make a list of them. You can journal them out. And when you want to get to work on them, you can get to work on them, because you have full responsibility over what you do. You have the joystick. You have the wheel. When it's your ex or your partner, your companion, whatever you want to call it, you don't have control. If they're unattracted currently, if they don't want to talk to you again, you don't have control over that. You deciding that you want to go to the gym, you have control over that. You deciding that you want to go talk to a coach, air out all your stuff and get down to some goals for yourself, you have control over that. See what I'm going with that? Number 7, you get lots of advice and don't know what is right or wrong, or worse, what works. So you're in no contact. You go on YouTube, you go on the internet, you go on Reddit, you air all this stuff out. And then it's like, well, what's right? What's wrong? And worse off, what works? So when someone goes on YouTube, you can easily find some guru, someone really clever with words that's going to go, hey, this is what you do. Like, this is how you're going to get them back. And the reality is, I've been doing this a long time. I even have videos on my channel that might say how to get your ex back. And it's clickbait. I'm not making those anymore. Because a lot of times I will tell you, there is no guarantee. Your situation is individually different. And so if I do a session with someone, there's times when you're like, oh, you got a really good chance of getting back together. Oh, you guys can call and talk or this or that. There's never no chance or there's never all chance. This isn't something that can be calculated in that way. But what happens is you get your hopes up, you watch all these videos, and then you pick the one that you want. You're better off if you can do it to book a session and get clear on everything. So the difference is you go talk to me, it's going to be like 2 hours, hour and a half, and you air out your whole relationship, everything that went wrong, all the ins and outs, instead of talking to a friend and talking for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then they tell you just find someone else. That actually makes you feel worse. So I always recommend, if you can do it early in the breakup. And what your goal is number one, air it out. You're upset, you want someone to listen to you, hold space, be considerate. This is a time that you're sensitive. So if you go out and tell all your friends and family all about this, you're going to be disappointed because sometimes they come back with some stuff that doesn't make you feel so nice. All right. The goal is, while you're in no contact, is to really find out, are these problems even fixable? Because sometimes, someone's a drug addict and they're not willing to quit. It's just not fixable. So you need to accept that that's not fixable. And then when you accept that that's not fixable, you can start the journey of healing, right? When you start getting to the area where you're going to fix everyone's problems that they don't even agree are problems, that's when you're going for a dead end. And so that's where you want to get, all right, what are the clear problems here, and are these going to change? Is there some areas I can give in now, or is there some areas they can, and do they agree on these things? If not, stay in no contact. Number 9, there's no normal relationship to shoot for. This is actually a really big one. There is no normal relationship to shoot for. So I hear this a lot, especially on the woman's end. I just wish we had a normal relationship. Like who? Like the movies? Like a TV show where the actors in their real life are divorced 3 times, but in the movie, everything's peaches and cream? Those aren't true stories. And actually, everyone's relationship is not normal. Everyone's relationship's different. People think by getting married that they're being more normal, that they're somehow stepping up and they're going to become more mature because they're married. And this is what a lot of people do. That's true for some people, not everyone. There's plenty of people that stay married for 30, 40 years in marriages where you would never take that shit. So it's different for different people, and that's why it's very important for you to recognize what you're shooting for value-wise. What kind of partner do you really want? And sometimes, a lot of times in your 20s, early 30s, you get roped into attraction, you get roped into financials. Maybe the person's financially stable and you're not at the time. And then as the relationship goes and its twists and turns and whatnot, you realize, wow, this person really doesn't line up with me. We don't like doing the same things. I like to travel. They hate it. I like to go camping and they like to go to the city. Those kinds of things, long-term, they're really hard to get around. So when someone ever says, oh, I just wish I had a normal relationship. There's no normal relationship to shoot for. There's a relationship to shoot for. There's a type or some qualities that you're looking for. And when you break up, you realize what you're really not looking for. It's like I had an ex-girlfriend years back, like a long time ago, that developed a real serious drinking problem. And she didn't have the drinking problem when we first started, right? She actually didn't drink at all. And so when the problem started, it was like, okay, you're just going out a little bit more. Okay, you're just, you like to drink now. And then it was like every day. It just got to a point where it was 0 to 100 real quick. And when I got out of the relationship, this wasn't the same girlfriend that I had when we first started. It wasn't the same girlfriend I had 3 years ago. And when we got to that end, a lot of things had changed. She became a party girl. She wanted to go out a lot. She wanted to get drunk. And it was just a no-no. I couldn't do it. Now, when I was in no contact, was it hard? Yeah, there was times when I was like, damn, maybe I should have let that go. Maybe we could have made it work. Long term, years later, that's 13, 14 years ago. I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't accept that. Because once you accept that long term, it's like you become the doormat. You're also accepting behavior. And this is what a lot of people do sometimes. And I'll stay with the example of someone that's an alcoholic or a heavy drinker, right? Because everyone knows one friend or family member. And the reality is, they don't even know what they're doing a lot of times. The drink comes first. They're being selfish or impulsive. This is a lot of characteristics of alcoholics. And if they're functional and they work, they were like, well, what do I do wrong? Bottom line is, if you stay with that person, here's the thing. You're like, you know what? I love her. I'm going to stay with her. She's hot. I'm going to deal with this. Cool. That's admirable. That's up to you. It's completely your choice. But here's the thing. You're going to have a few choices. Number one, you're going to have to find a way to deal with those nights when she's really drunk, upset, all over the place, and you're sober. Because really, when you're around drunk people, you don't like hanging out with them when you're sober. So you're going to have to find a way to kind of like disassociate with that. That's one way of dealing with it. Number two, you start drinking. Because you're like, you know what? No, this is a lot of people do this. They're not drinkers. They don't like drinking. They don't like getting drunk. Oh, my partner does it. Okay, this is how we vibe. All right, I'll become an alcoholic too. Right? Takes a lot of strength to really know, like, that's not me. I don't want to end up that way. Because what happens is, just like you're the average of your 5 best friends or whatever you call it, or the 5 people you hang out with the most, but there's a lot of truth to that. Think about your partner and how much you pick up from them, and you don't even know it. So if they have some kind of bad habit or something that you think is really wrong, the only way you're going to change that is to break up and go into no contact and just find it extremely non-negotiable. It might not work out in your favor, but you need to have that strength. Otherwise, you're going to have the same problem, or you're going to be one of those people that are going to be bitter and resentful all the time because you're in a relationship you don't want to be in. Now, there's no number 10, start reflecting on where you're at as an individual. So always remember, when you're in no contact, when you're hurting, when you're in a breakup, it's like, all right, where am I at as an individual? What do I want for my own life? What can I do now that I couldn't do while I was with her? What am I ignoring by putting this person on a pedestal instead of some of my goals or some of the things I want to do in life? Because now when you really, the silver lining is like, you actually have full control of what you do next. And someone's like, well, I have full control all the time. When you're in a relationship, you got to negotiate all these things you do. You negotiate on where you go to dinner. You negotiate on maybe where you're going to live, where you're going to pay rent. Now, there's some relationships where someone makes all those decisions, but they're not many like that. Number 11, if you're obsessed over it, book a coaching session. Go to writemac.com and book a session. Been doing this for a long time. I'm good at it. If you don't find it useful or helpful or a session, I'll give you your money back. So today I was going to go into some Reddit posts on no contact. So this individual had, let me pull this up. Let's pull it up like this. This individual had put this up. What were your experiences during no contact in a breakup? As a female dumpy who had an amicable breakup, but still decided to initiate no contact, I'm curious to hear other experiences. So let's just take a look at a few of these. I was dumped. He insisted we be friends, but then fought no contact. We decided not to talk for a week until I see him on September 30th. And during this time alone, I think no contact will help us heal. I feel he is very busy with college, and yes, we won't have time to spend together very often. I also have been holding myself back due to the relationship because I always had him and I wasn't being independent. Maybe we need this time to focus on our goals and priorities. I love him so much, and this is a rough patch for me. However, I do believe in healing. I was the dumper. I got cheated on after 2 years. The first few months after I found out, I just couldn't let him go. I wanted us to work out. I wanted him to forget about her. He used to adore me so much and put me on a pedestal. I was in a lot of emotional pain. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep or drink. I even lost 10 pounds. I've never been that low before. When we broke up and I told him I wanted us to move past it, he told me he felt so guilty that he needs to work on himself first before he can think of us getting back together. But he's a POS liar and was still seeing her because He didn't want to let go of either of us. I was in therapy for a few weeks until my therapist instructed me to cease all contact and delete him permanently off social media. He told me I would not heal unless I completely remove him. And my therapist was right. My healing journey started when I finally blocked him on everything. Good advice. I started finding myself. I made new friends. I built a whole new life. And this only happened a year ago. My career is finally taking off, even put back to 10 pounds. All right, so let me just break this down really quick. The interesting thing about this is that, number one, this lady's asking for advice on no contact experiences, and she had an amicable breakup, which isn't very common, right? Meaning that, hey, we agreed on things, no bad words were said, we're kind to each other. And then you're going to get advice from people that are all over the place on no contact. What I found interesting about what this person said, I can't sleep, I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink. These are normal things that happen when you're in no contact and you broke up. So these aren't things that, oh my God, that's so crazy. It'll surprise the hell out of you. It's a complete loss. It's hurt. It's upset. But on the flip side, this woman was just saying how she got cheated on. So you always want to ask yourself, all right, well, what's the alternative here? Like, what's the alternative? Would be for her to stay with this guy that cheated on her and swallow her pride, right? And then he's like, well, let me get back to you because of this, that, and the other. So she goes through this mourning phase. She's hurt. She's upset. That part sucks. I've been through that phase. It's hard. People are looking at you too like you're a train wreck. Have you ever seen someone and like, wow, was there a death in the family? They don't look ill. They look like mentally drained. It's usually a breakup or a death in the family. Okay? Those are the two. And the therapist in that advice earlier in that Reddit post gave the best advice, and people have a lot of trouble with this. You need to eliminate all contact. That's not one of those things that's like, oh no, let me just leave this open, or let me check on their post. What you're doing with that is you are being a stalker, a covert stalker, and you're just reopening a wound. It's just like you have this massive wound around your chest, on your heart, and you just keep opening it up and going, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Every time you look at them, because what your brain can't do naturally is look at them as an ex or a different person. That's your girlfriend. That's your partner. So when you see them acting in a way where they don't care about you, it hurts because your brain is still saying, you're with me. You're with me. And what you don't realize is one of the greatest parts about being in a relationship, dare I say a good relationship, is just feeling loved, supported, accepted, not looked down upon. And this is someone that you shared a lot of your inner stuff with. And then all of a sudden they're with someone else and someone else gets those bits. It's hard. It's difficult. It's 10 times harder if you're watching their IG post or Facebook. And I don't know why, but people really can't let go of this now because they're like, oh, I just can't help it. You can. And the thing is, you just have to gauge it. Like, this is upsetting me. This is hurting me. I got to stop this. And the minute you do it, you'll feel better after a week, 2 weeks. It doesn't mean you're just over your breakup. It just feels better to not be spotting their pictures. Because you can tell, like, if you want to experiment on this and no contact, you go to one of their posts and you see how you feel internally when you see their picture or them having fun or them talking to someone else. And then maybe initially you don't get those, but you get that one where there's a comment from another girl or there's a comment from another guy, and you could just feel your blood rushing and you can feel your hand shaking. Stop doing that. Your brain and your mind saying, like, don't do this anymore. It's hurting us. And I don't know why so many people have trouble with that. Now, here's what's interesting. That girl that mentioned that on Reddit, that she did that, her therapist told her to do it. That's called an authority figure. So you go to the doctor, and the doctor's like, you got this problem, and we got medicine for you. We have treatment. We have this. This is my suggestion. It's your doctor. You take their advice. They're an authority figure. It's the same thing when you go to a therapist or a coach or a specialist. You're like, all right, like, help me out here. Tell me what to do. Sometimes you just need reassurance that you're okay, that this is part of the process. Okay, it's just like you sprained an ankle, and these are the things you're gonna have to do. Unfortunately, you sprained your heart. The problem is you're gonna re-injure that thing unless you just cut that person off completely. Very difficult, but it is the answer. It is the absolute answer. And if someone tells you otherwise, like, oh yeah, no, this, that, and the other, because you can't fix those problems, it's always gonna be the case. It's always gonna be the case. All right, let me pull up some relationship questions. Let's see here. My girlfriend of okay, let me pull this up. All right, we got one on deck. I do appreciate you. Anyone that has any questions, put them in the comments. If you want to ask some advice, or if you even want to come on the channel, you can do that. You're allowed to come on. I have an invite through StreamYard here. So if you had some issues that you want to talk about, you want to get some free advice, there you go. And you want to be added on to the live stream, there's not a lot of people on right now. I just did a random one today. So if you're bold enough to do that, there's the StreamYard link, and you can come on. And if you don't want to show your face on video, that's fine. It could be audio only. I like to do this because it helps people in real time. And what I've noticed is that a lot of times with advice, especially when you're hurting or in a breakup, you kind of want it now. It's kind of timely in certain situations. So let me pull this up because these are interesting. I caught my boyfriend using Tinder. What do I do? Okay, here's where I'm going to start. I, female 27, my boyfriend's 31. I've been together for 5 years. My boyfriend has been acting odd lately. We have been arguing a lot. Arguments are normal. I'll pull this up for you guys. This is a good one. Arguments are normal in relationships. I get that, but we always used to come to a conclusion. Things weren't just left on the table to fester. Whatever they may have been about, we always made an attempt to get closure on a disagreement or issue. But recently, he hasn't been wanting to, and he's been more distant than normal. Okay, so this is one of those things. Let me break down something for you. When you're with someone 5 years, it's a lot different than a year or 6 months. And I'm just going to say, if you were together 5 years, there's a strong possibility you probably live together. So when you start sensing something that's odd, especially if you're not the jealous type, like something's off, like this person, they're not as interested intimately, there's a good chance that they're just lost, especially for a female, they just lost attraction. And that could be regained, but it's not going to be regained in a day. So that's a possibility. There could be some kind of problem in their family or personal life, or there could be someone at work, or they're talking to someone else. It's not written, but the idea that you start to sense something, because here's the thing, this is how your brain works. You're around, you have a job, right? You learn that job, you have habits about that job, and subconsciously, just like you ride a bike or drive your car, you don't have to relearn that job. You just know because you've done it so many times. And when you're with your partner for 5 years, you know little small things about them, and you don't even know what they are, like certain things they do after they shower, certain things they do when they watch TV. And when they're off and when something's not right, you sense it. You sense it, unless you're too obligated with other things. And you're like, people always look back, I did sense something. I did think something was off, but they told me don't worry about it. Your intuition is going to be much stronger with someone that you've spent 5 years with. Just like your intuition, if you have a brother or sister you grew up with, your intuition with that individual is much stronger. You're much more connected. You're much more in tune with how they are, how they react to things. So if you're together 5 years and you're like, something's off, and you choose to check their phone, I'm not suggesting that, but you choose to check their phone, which a lot of people do, and you find what you're looking for, where there's smoke, there's fire. And so in those situations, you do need to confront them But at the same time, unless there's evidence or you don't know anything, seek to understand, not to be understood. Ask questions. Hey, is something wrong? Am I missing something here? Are you okay? Give them the opportunity to talk about it. They still might not. They still not be holding their cards right. Ask them direct questions. I've had a client before that was cheating for a while. And she came to me and she was like, look, I don't feel good about it. I feel really guilty, but her husband couldn't have intimacy. It was a special situation from a medical problem. She still felt bad. And her husband, I think, gave her kind of like the green light, like, you can do it, but I don't want to know about it. But she said, I'm not going to tell him, but if he asks me directly, I'll tell him the truth. Now, here's the thing. Not everyone tells the truth. I would say this, asking direct questions when you've been together 5 years is better than trying to guess. Now, if they lie to you, that's on them. Another caveat to that is if they lie and you know them well, you'll pick it up. You'll pick it up. And then you can ask her some more questions. So let's go on about this. My boyfriend has been acting odd lately. We've been together arguing. I'm sorry. Whatever they have been, I get, but we always used to come to a conclusion. Things weren't just left on the table to fester. Whatever they may have been about, we always made an attempt to get closure on a disagreement or issue. But recently, he hasn't been wanting to and has been more distant than normal. Occasionally, he works late at the office. This is usually rare one, maybe 2 days a month. But recently, this turned into 1 or 2 days a week. I thought I was just being paranoid, but he's been very defensive with his phone, taking it to the bathroom with him, and making sure it's on him at all times. Let's just pull this up. Who's ever on deck right now, you can feel free to ask any questions or comments. Anyways, I paid for a service online, and it turns out he's on Tinder and he's very active. I mean, why is he on a dating app? Okay, so not right now, you're in denial. Okay, so you found out he's on Tinder. You've been connecting dots that he's been going to the bathroom. He's been very private. He's been very short with you. One thing I would ask, if this service that you found online that identified him on Tinder, which I'm not aware of this service, but I'm sure they're out there, how long has he been on? So that would be another dot to connect for you, right? The dot being that, hey, it's only been a month. It's been 2 months. Is it coincide with this time that you feel like he's been off? Why is he active there? Is there really an excuse besides those late nights or dates he's going on? After 5 years, is this what I deserve? Okay, so this is really cool because there's multiple questions here. Number one, you confirmed he's on a dating app. You saw the profile. Okay, so that's over. You know, there's no more like, oh my God, what happened here? Okay. I paid for the service online, and it turns out he's on Tinder and he's very active. Okay, so you broke the case. Now, do you accept that or not accept that? You do need to have a conversation about it. You need to confront it, right? Or else you're going to be no self-respect. Why is he active there? Well, you've been in a relationship 5 years. Most likely things are stale. And if you guys are together 5 years and you're at your late 20, you're 27, 31, you don't have kids, you don't want to get married, a lot of times that's 5, 6, 7 years. Where's it headed? There's tiers to relationships. And so most people don't stay together like that unless they got kids, a house together, they're planning a business. They have to have something that they're working on together beyond love and sex. Okay. Why is he active there? Okay. Are those late nights, are dates he's going on? You need to ask him that question. You need to tell him, and this happens all the time, by the way, all the time. I've come across this many times. A lot of people will do this thing where they find out their ex is on Tinder or one of these dating apps, and then they don't say anything because they want to play them. They want to see, is she going to tell me the truth? Is she going to tell me the truth? To me, it's a little bit of torture. You're also playing this game because you know something they don't know, so you want to see if they'll tell you the truth. I suggest you just ask. You get down to it, you go, hey, I've seen you on Tinder. What's going on? Have a direct, adult, transparent conversation. You've been together 5 years. Don't start playing games now. Okay? And then After 5 years, is this what I deserve? Of course not. No one's ever going to go, oh, yeah, you deserve after 5 years. But I don't know your relationship. I don't know if when you started, this guy's a player or whatever. Does it sound deservable? No. That seems like a really easy answer to answer. I don't know your relationship. Who deserves to have their partner on Tinder? I don't know. What you'd want to do with that is book a session with myself at rightmac.com. Let's unpack your whole relationship and see why you're thinking that's a possibility. How do I confront him about this issue? See, this is the thing. So from the outside, everyone's like, oh, I would do this, I would do that. It's going to hurt, but you need to set aside time and say, hey, I want to talk to you on Sunday afternoon, Saturday afternoon. Set aside some time. Do it in person and maybe list the questions you want to ask. Someone's like, why would you prepare that way? So then you know exactly what you want to ask and what's your intention. What your intention is going into that talk, what's the truth? What's the truth? Your intention is finding the truth, because once you find the truth, you can hopefully accept that as truth. Right now, you have some hypotheticals. Someone's on Tinder, so he might answer and go, oh, I just left that up from a long time ago. Your search is for the truth. Then once you have the truth, or you have lies, at least you're face to face. Because a lot of times, unless you're dealing with a psychopath or big time narcissist or something like that, they're going to break down and tell you the truth. Or they're going to show, just like a poker player would have a show. They're going to show you, they're going to, not want to answer the question or whatever. So you want to have that conversation, and you want to have it sooner or later. So it's like tearing the Band-Aid off. There's no easy way to do it. The wrong way to do it would be in text. So a lot of people communicate through text. If you're going to have a serious conversation about confronting someone, don't make it text. Don't make it text. There's no way to read body language. Someone could be at a red light and you think they left you on red. You have a controlled conversation either on FaceTime or in person. Because you need to see that person's expressions. That's the way we communicate. That's why they made emojis. We communicate a lot more through, like, you're picking that up subconsciously when people talk to you, and then you're making judgments when you see that about if they like you or not, more than the words. That's a fact. So those are the things you want to do. And no, like I said, ask the questions you want to ask. Be direct. But you've been together 5 years. You need to ask. You need to confront them. Sometimes, not always, sometimes when you confront them, it makes them aware that they don't want to lose the relationship they're in, and they can't have their cake and eat it too. And now you have the option of having someone feeling guilty and upset about it, and realizing, wait a minute, if I can't, I can't have Tinder and my girlfriend too. Now they need to make a decision, and so do you. And that's up to you to forgive them or not to forgive them. That being said, it's a better position to be in than guessing. So you don't want to be in that state. I think they're doing something. I think they're out. You've already confirmed that the dude's on Tinder. You guys have been together 5 years. Does that mean you need to break up right away? No, you need more to go on. You need to build a case either way. You need to also see if you're going to forgive this individual, if they're even sorry. That's why I said when you're in person, your ability to forgive someone has to do with, does this person even feel bad? Do they even have any regrets here? It's a big deal, right? Like if you're going to forget, if someone's like, oh yeah, I don't know, I just left it on there and they laugh it off. Totally different than when someone breaks down. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't know what I've been doing, ... Okay. All right, let me go to the next one. Okay, let's check out this one. I'll pull this up for you guys. Anyone in the comments that wants to drop a story or drop a question, go ahead. So next one. Boyfriend 25 doesn't want me 24 to go on work vacation. What should I do? Let's see the reason. Hi guys, 24. I just got my first job. You got your first job at 24? That's interesting. It's in the service sector and we rely on sales and good relationships and networking. We have a company vacation coming up soon and my boyfriend 25 doesn't want me to go. We've been together for you got it. We've been together for about a year and are both from conservative backgrounds. He says if we were married, he wouldn't allow me to go, which is understandable, I guess. You make your own rules. So like if you guys are in conservative backgrounds and for some reason within your culture, within your varied values, that's a no-no for both of you, fine. A lot of people in the chat would be like, oh my God, that's so controlling. If you agree on it, it's fine. He says if we are married, he wouldn't allow me to go. I mean, it's a company vacation. So you have to decide, is that something that it's your pleasure not to go to appease your boyfriend or your husband, or is it something you agree with? But he says if I don't want to act like that is a relationship we have, then let him know so we are on the same page, meaning he will also act accordingly. Not sure to what extent. See, that's when someone negotiates in that way, like if you do that, I'll do that, it's dirty. Okay, it's catty, it's immature. If he doesn't want you to go, he doesn't want you to go. Him threatening, like if you do that, I'll do this, it's weak. Thing is, though, this vacation isn't compulsory. I don't think it would look great if I turned down their invitation. I mean, one quick question I just ask, is it possible for your boyfriend to go with you? Especially in a sector where you're supposed to engage with people. And I also was kind of excited about it because I'd love to get to know everyone a bit more and I feel a bit more part of the team. Also, my dad is really strict and he'd be happy for me to go. So I don't get why my boyfriend is having such an issue. Well, your boyfriend is not your dad. Reality check. So the idea that, oh, my boyfriend acts this way and my dad acts this way, they're two different human beings with two different raisings, okay? So that just shows you how your brain works. Oh, this is a man I cared about and cared about me, and this is how you compare your boyfriend. He's a student and had to go for a week to a place on the outskirts of the city for school. To me, it's the same thing. It's still co-ed and it's with people your own age, but I obviously understand it's compulsory. Through my work, vacation isn't compulsory. I think it's important to go. Or is it not the same? It's up to you. So when you ask Reddit and you're like, oh, what do you guys think? Everyone's going to have a different answer based on their own morals. There's going to be a ton of people that are like, just go. If you think it's important to go, hey, this is the way I would look at it. If it's important to go on this vacation for work, and the only reason you won't go is to appease your boyfriend, maybe your husband in the future, just know that this is the precedent that you're setting in the relationship. So that means that every time you want to go on a vacation or do something with your friends or work, he's going to give you the no or yes. And most of the time it's going to be no. And the minute you do it the first time, like you're thinking about now you've just set a rule in place. Okay. My question to you is like, all right, I think it's going to be a good thing for work. Do you trust yourself on this vacation to not flirt or not mess around? If the answer is absolutely yes, 100%, then the problem is he doesn't trust you to go on these things and he wants to control what you do and where you go. The idea is in a relationship that involves some trust, it'd be like, all right, is there anyone, who are you going with? All right, how many people are going to be there? Who are you rooming with? He can ask some more questions to get reassured. The assumption that it's just wrong when it seems right to you is a problem because this builds resentment. I'm from a conservative background where women are always having to compromise for the male and it builds resentment. I just said that. I'm really scared of letting, let's pull this up. I'm really scared of letting myself get into something where I lose my freedom without reason, but I'm not sure if this is making me biased. Am I being unreasonable to still want to go? What can I do? No, I don't think you're unreasonable at all. The number one question you got to answer and convey to your boyfriend is, do you trust me and do you trust yourself? So if you're like, listen, hands down, I'm going to go over there, there's not going to be a problem. And you know yourself. Are you a good girlfriend? Are you loyal by nature? Right? There's always a possibility that someone could cheat. There's always a possibility. The fact that someone controls someone in that way, and you're always having to compromise for the male. There should be some negotiation here. If you are 24 years old, you don't want to get wrapped up in a relationship that you already have resentment. Edit update. I don't know what to call it. You guys have super helpful to put into perspective. He now says that when he went on his trip, that his two friends from his class suggested that they all go on vacation together with his guy bestie, and he turned it down out of respect. Well, I mean, that's him. I don't know how I would feel about him going with these girls when he could easily take me too, as it isn't a professional environment. It's apples to oranges. It's a convenient thing. So he's coming up with a scenario that's not the same. And they're just friends. To me, this isn't the same, but I'm not just being biased. Well, the bottom line is we're always biased. Any opinion's biased. Any viewpoint's biased based on your own morals and values. Don't sacrifice your self-respect. If you think you're losing respect for yourself, fine. Don't do it. Also, for clarity, I don't drink or party. And the point of the trip is team building. They're all professional. It's a very small company, like 8 people, half of which are married and much older. Well, this is going to be a turning point in your relationship, because like I said, if you choose to not go, then it's just going to be like that for the rest of time. If you say, look, I'm going and you need to trust me and I can tell you more about it, but otherwise this will be the precedent for the relationship. Let me do one more here. Okay, let's check out this one. Hold on a sec. Let's pull this up. Let me know if you guys can read this. Okay. For context, okay, my 25-year-old male, now ex, 24-year-old female brainwashed, or am I abusive? Jeez. For context, she is diagnosed bipolar but says she has BPD. She stopped taking medication over the last months. We've had problems recently and even a couple close breakup situations, which is where this stems from. The whole situation is weird to me. I wanted to see it from others' perspective. Just 3 or 4 days ago, we had a short argument about toilet paper. It was petty and stupid. The entire conversation couldn't have been more than 120 seconds. At the end of our brief argument, she stood in front of me, blocking my path. With a single hand, I moved her out of my way by pressing on her shoulder. There were no falls or injuries. My actions were not malicious intent, but this incident was a major trigger for her. She began calling all She began calling all her family and friends purposely directly next to me while I sat on the couch and essentially telling them that how she is with an abuser. I was frustrated and said I couldn't be with a liar. In the end, she unblocked her friend, who she said was really not good. If this is the case, if you feel like you're being falsely accused of something such as that, and I wasn't there, so I can't judge this, do not continue, because this is one of those things that will continue to happen. The fact that you're fighting over toilet paper for 3 minutes is a red flag. The other thing to this is, and like I said, I wasn't there, so I don't know what physicality was there or how to judge that. That being said, if someone's bipolar or BPD and you're not, it's going to be really tough regardless. So you could read up on it, you can go through all those things, but basically, unless it's like you had a parent or a sibling in your life, so you're kind of aware of the mood swings and emotional instability. But otherwise, it's just going to be, I've had clients that have had girlfriends like this and clients that have had a boyfriend like this, one client. And it's just constantly up and down. and there's a lot of accusations, there's a lot of uncomfortableness. And so if you can get out of that, a lot of times by the time they get out of those relationships, they're actually relieved. There's so much action in those relationships and stimulation because there's always something going on. Some people have trouble getting out of them. And so you have to completely remove yourself. The idea that you think that you just kind of like tapped her on the shoulder and it wasn't a big deal, and then she went and told all these people these things, is a huge red flag. Huge. Reddit's not going to help you with that. That's a situation that can be bad really quick. Later in the day and the next day after cooling off, let's pull this up if you guys want to see this. Later in the day and the next day after cooling off, I let her know that the door is open. Let me know when you're ready to talk. Ignored. When the night time rolls around, she shows up with 2 friends on my doorstep to collect her things. When she was here, she was unrecognized. She clearly didn't want anything to do with me. B was instructing her what to do by X was asking B's permission to pack her things, come back in the house. I thought it was odd since this time I've learned her family tried to contact her and learn about the situation. Was answering on behalf. At this point, I've basically already said my goodbyes, but I've been having second thoughts regarding this is external influence or bipolar episode after talking with her family. How should I react if she wants to come back? I mean, my short advice, knowing people that have been in relationships like this, if you interact with individuals like this that, for example, let's just say that it was just an argument of verbal abuse. She's accusing you of physical abuse to friends and family. You're saying that didn't happen. I wasn't there. I don't know. If it didn't happen and you're being accused of it, you need to just get out of that relationship. Let's just say it was verbal abuse. Let's just say it was something like that. The idea that you're having arguments and she's involving friends and family immediately to make you look like the immediate bad guy, it's not toxic. It's beyond repair. And so the idea that like, oh, maybe we can get back together, these problems are just going to happen again. This is how someone operates in a fight or argument. And you're thinking to yourself like, oh, maybe we can work through this. No, this is an operational thing. This is how this person processes. Let's take a look here. All right, we got 2 on deck. Just to review what it's like to experience both ends of no contact are no bueno. They're no fun. It's an open loop. The story hasn't ended for a lot of you. And so you never come to the point where you're like, okay, I accept. It's over. Time to move on. That's going to take a long time. The idea that you can't accept it at first is completely normal. Talking while it's over doesn't help you repair things. You put together all the good moments and best parts when you're lonely. Just think of it like when you fast or you haven't eaten for a while, you haven't had water. Your loneliness is going to make that wanting more. Hence the reason when someone meets someone new in 6 months, 8 months, a year, and they're better and they feel great, that they let go of that other person, right? If you follow on social media, it's 10 times worse. So if you follow your ex and you're in no contact and you're moving forward, it's 10 times worse. 10 times worse. You're just not going to be able to repair from that. You question things about yourself. So you're in no contact. You had a strong identity being with this partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife. And so it's going to be different telling people you're single. It's going to be uncomfortable. So you start questioning things about yourself. That's normal. Do it in a journal, do it with a therapist, do it with a coach like myself, and unpack it in a professional way where someone's going to hold space and be there for you. Don't do it with every friend or family member. It's not because they don't love you or care about you. They're just not trained to do so, and it's just not their jam. You get lots of advice and you don't know what is right or wrong, or worse, what works. So you're in no contact. You watch all these videos, you read all these posts, and you start to think, well, does this work? No contact's not about working. It's about healing. It's about eliminating the things that have been hurting you, which is contact with them, which is not coming to the table and saying, look, we have problems here and they're not going to get fixed. The goal is where the problem's fixable. So like you're in no contact, it's like when you're really hurting, you have to be honest with yourself. A lot of these things aren't fixable. And that's where like a lot of people stay together and they're like, you know what, it's okay. We don't have to fix those things because I just want you back. I can't take this hurt. Choice. Nothing wrong with that. That's your choice. There is no normal relationship to shoot for. So this is actually a big one. This comes up a lot. Like, oh, I just wish I had a normal relationship. I just wish like I was like everyone else. What you're really saying is I wish my relationship was like movies, right? Because in those relationships, a lot of times they seem perfect. If you have a friend or family member and you're like, oh my God, Todd and Jen, they have the perfect relationship. You don't know what goes on behind doors because I've been doing this a long time. I'm also in my 40s. I've known a lot of people in different relationships and everyone has problems. Everyone has dark shadows. Everyone does. There's no normal to shoot for. So this idea that, oh, if it was just normal, where are you getting this normal from? You create your own standards within your relationship. Number 10, start reflecting on where you're at as an individual. Very important. Very important during no contact. Like, where am I at right now? Am I happy with where I'm at? Do I want to live in a new town, in a new place? Do I want a new job? Because this is the one benefit that you're not seeing in no contact, is that you as an individual have full carte blanche to do whatever you want. For the most part, that's the difference. It's like, oh, okay, I can start. All right, I want to save up for this car. All right, you can do that. All right, I want to start therapy for myself. The idea of like, how am I going to get this person back? How am I going to get this person back? Totally natural. Why'd they leave? Totally natural. Journal that out. Talk to a therapist. Talk to a coach. But when you start reflecting, like, what do I want? What do I want for myself as an individual? Where do I see myself in 5 years? Like, what am I doing? And someone's like, oh, is this goals? Could be goals. But you as an individual right now have just given yourself the opportunity to get yourself going in a direction. Because a lot of times if you broke up, at the end, it wasn't very good. You were putting on a lot of time and energy just trying to talk, just trying to make things right, just trying to appease or make the other person happy. And now you're sad, you're lonely, you're upset, you're hurt. I get it. But you start journaling, it's like, all right, I mean, if I'm going to feel this bad, what do I want to go for? What do I want to put my energy and time into? And this won't happen in the first month or first 2 months. It's going to be a drag, man. It's going to hurt. It's going to be upsetting. It's going to be one of the hardest things you've ever done in your life, especially if you were in love. It's going to be really hard. But in the end, it's good for the both of you because things were not working. It wasn't working. If you are obsessed over it, book a session. Go to writemac.com and book a session. I'll give you a refund if you don't find it useful or helpful. And that's what you want. Useful and helpful information to move forward. This idea that, oh, I'm going to get them back. Okay? It's possible. But before you start that mission or that thing, you need to like get all the puzzle pieces out on the table and really take some time with it. All right, I hope that helps you. Go to writemac.com if you'd like to book a live coaching session. Otherwise, have a good day.